Hey y'all, boardgamerants here where you'll find everything solo tabletop gaming and more. We got a doozy today. Dwellings of Eldervale. Big box game, super fancy, beautiful game. Let's take a look inside and I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking on either side. Solo point of view, of course. The Dwellings of Eldervale, or just Dwellings of Eldervale. This is a Gorgia-Morificus game. I'm just going to take a look back here. Now I have the legendary version. And there's a standard version, and then there's a deluxe, and then a legendary version. And they all come with their pieces and whatnot, and I'm not going to go over all that. But just keep in mind, you know, if you get the standard version, some of this stuff might not be there. So just check that out. But ultimately, what we got going on here is an adventure game. And a bit of a hodgepodge of stuff. There's definitely a worker placement, tableau building kind of thing going on. But, you know, you're going to roll some dice for battles. Got your dice in these beautiful trays here. There's 8 different colors, like themes, if you will. And in each one, there's a different factions you can play. So on one side I got the Mosswood Trolls, and it has, you know, has different abilities. Flip this over and you can be the Elves of Briardale, and you can have different abilities there. You're gonna have, everyone's always got workers, warrior, wizard, dragon available. Total of 6 workers. You can start with 3 out there, and then you can recruit these and get their subsequent abilities. So that's 8 times 2. That's like 16 different factions, really, that you can play. 8 different colors. And you're going to be going against, if you're playing solo, you're going to be going against the Ghosts of Eldervale, which is represented by this little area here, just this sheet. And then you got to pick a color for them. And then you've got, these are the solo AI cards here. And this is them flipped over. And that are going to activate depending on the die roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 6. And so that is, this section here is going to run the AI. And the AI starts off with, you can get magic cards in this game. And the AI is going to start off with its own set. Not going to do much with them, just going to get a point for those. And then it starts off with its adventure card here, which starts it off on that symbol. All these symbols represent the 8 different colors. So this is green. And over here you've got this board, which keeps track of kind of your strength in a color, in an element or whatever. So we're starting off in the first section here of green, each of us. And at the end of the game, these numbers here, as you work your way up the track, the numbers get higher, and that involves that's your scoring. That's how much you're going to score basically for green things in your tableau or any kind of dwellings that you've managed to place out into this adventure area over the course of the game. So if I did a dwelling here, then that's going to score based on how far I am up on that track that's over there. So, and also too, any cards in your tableau. And I start off, every faction starts off with their color and kind of starts them off, and it gives them some abilities. Because the gist of the game is you're going to take your workers and you're going to place them out on one of these tiles. And then that tile is going to activate. If it's one of these colored tiles, then you're going to basically draw a goodie, a treasure token, and you get to place that here in your fancy little slots in your board. And I can trade that in for these different resources here. You always start off the game with 1 of each, but then you're going to get more resources. You got your gems, you got your scrolls, your potions, your tools, your swords, and they all help you recruit more of your guys. Like, what does it take to get a dragon? I need to get 2 gems and a scroll. Or, you know, the wizard, and then your warrior, and then more workers. Just need certain types of resources, a certain amount of resources. And so you'll keep track of all that stuff there. You got your dwellings here. You can only build up to 6 dwellings. That's one of the ways you trigger the end of the game, which I'll get to in a second. It's called Dwellings of Eldervale for a reason. And over here is another huge part of the game. This beautiful section here where you've got basically the 8 colors represented when you're playing solo, you're only ever going to play with 4 at a time. One of them is going to be your main color of your character, and then you'll get 3 random colors. So in this case, we're going to be playing with green and red and yellow and black. Those are going to be the colors. And these adventure cards you can purchase. They have purchasing costs there too. So this costs 2 gems, this costs 2 tools. And then when you purchase them, you get to go up on those respective tracks over there. And then later on in the game, you'll score for where you're at on the tracks for those cards. So you basically, the main way you score points is by buying these cards to place in your tableau and working your way up on the track over there, your different colors, and getting your dwellings out here. And just being strong in certain colors will score you the most points. And you're going to be placing your, as I mentioned, your worker out on the board. Eventually you'll get to the point where you've got no more characters. You just put one out each turn, and then the AI goes, you roll for the AI, and then you go again. Eventually you run out of workers. Now you have to regroup. That's the other main thing you can do on your turn is you take all these guys back. Well, now you can activate any cards that you've purchased from here, or you start off with a 1 and you get to activate them. So I can bring this guy here and I get a tool. I can bring this guy here and I can look to build a dwelling. And so as long as I have a worker out here and I have the correct resources, I can pop a little cap on their head. It's very adorable. Basically turn a worker, I don't know if I can do this one-handed, into a dwelling. Oh, yeah. And it fits right on their little noggin, you know, pretty tight. All right, well, anyway, I'll just have to take my word for it. I know I can do it. I can usually do it. Oh, there we go. Boom. How's that for adorableness? And that goes bam, right there. Now that's permanent, but that's going to score you points at the end of the game. Actually, when you build dwellings, you score for these tiles, these non-colored tiles, if you will. I mean, there's color to them, but you get points for if you've got these, I forget what kind of tiles these are called, but there's basically the tiles that represent the colors you're playing with, and then the fortress and the dungeon and the mage tower and the mill and the portal. These always come out every game and allow you to do certain actions. You'll notice there's no treasure tokens on those. You just take the actions. And if you go on one of the colored tiles, well, you just take a treasure token. That's your action. But you'll be building these dwellings, and in that way, you get to a point where the game ends, or the trigger, I should say, ends, is when you've either built all 6 of your dwellings, and you get just basically one more turn after that, or if the AI does that as well, that ends the game, or you basically take one more round. The other thing is that part of when you're setting up, you have a stack of tiles here that was built. And if this stack, if you continue to explore out here and expand your land, if you get to where you have 0 here, that triggers the end of the game. So again, if you build 6 dwellings, triggers the end, or if that stack is empty, that ends the game. Another main thing here is you've got these monsters that come out. And so there's 2 different types of monsters. When you have the legendary version, you get to pick, or you can pick randomly. It's 2 different monsters that are roaming the land that are going to kind of get in your way, and that's really what, you know, you're going to be doing a lot of battles. And battles are, so over here I have these set aside, the other monsters that'll come out when the correct tiles come out that have this little symbol on them. And then that'll bring that monster out on the board, and those just stomp around after you and create battles. The battles are very easy. You're going to roll based on a number of factors. You're going to roll anywhere from 1 to 6 dice during the battle, and then maybe the AI is rolling. Maybe they're, you know, for their reasons, they're rolling 3. I'm rolling 2. You battle. It's just this easy. You roll, and whoever's got the highest die wins. So 5, you know, beats my 4. And so the AI would have won that battle. I mean, it's just that easy. But let's say, you know, if I had rolled a 5 as well, well, then you go to the next highest die. Well, now I have a 2 to their next highest die is 1. Now I won the battle. And you just keep going down until you figure out who won the battle. And then when you win battles, it allows you to go up on this track, which scores you points or gets you more resources, etc. Sometimes, well, if you destroy one of the monsters, you can choose to move up on the track. You can choose to move up on the colored track. Like if I beat that yellow dragon, I can move up on the yellow track. So that's another option when you're fighting monsters, because they're going to have their own set of die. Like this winged serpent would get to roll 4 dice in any battle. So, but each monster has its own set of, and it's one of my favorite things, is it has its own different flavor that it adds to the game. Like this winged serpent is actually not that dangerous. If you work around it or even in its same space, it can give you a point, and you don't have to fight it. It's tame. You can fight it, but that's pretty cool compared to, I don't know, say this guy who just charges around, and you know, this guy is definitely going to be starting battles, you know. And then this type has its own thing, and so on and so forth. So you've got also a hand of cards here you're going to be working with. You get 5. These allow you to score more points either during the game, at the end of the game. They allow you to, you know, just do certain abilities and stuff that affect your game, one-off things. So you've got your magic cards there that certainly add to the variability. And of course, all of these cards have all their different effects, and if you get those in your tableau, you get to enjoy all of their fun, fancy effects as well. So that, in a nutshell, is Dwellings of Eldervale. Let's talk about this game. Dwellings of Eldervale. Very few games this beautiful that come with this level of quality of components. Well, except for the little solo board, little ghost board, has, you know, kind of thin and flimsy, kind of comes up at the corner. It was a little, you know, whatever. But aside from that, just stunning. Now the legendary version comes with wooden pieces versus the cardboard chits, and comes with this and that, you know. So depending on the edition, I guess, that you get, but just beautiful, colorful as all get out, fun to move around the bits and pieces. I have enjoyed my time with this game, and I got 15 plays of this in. So that, if you were, you know, keeping track, I basically played all the colors except for the one side on the one. I got the 15. You'd have to play essentially 16 times to get every single faction in, and I almost did. But I was like, 15. That's enough. Enjoyed my time with this game. Is it a game that's gonna stay in my collection? No. But does that mean I dislike the game? Not at all. Let's talk a little bit more about that, and we'll kind of work through the pluses and minuses, at least for myself. So, setup. Now, the way this is, I mean, the way the trays are set up, you can pull this game out and just get everything out where it kind of needs to be, lids off, in a matter of a few minutes. But then there's a setup of getting the right tiles and shuffling them and getting the right monsters out, and then getting, you know, some of your pieces out, and getting, if you're playing solo, you got to get those pieces out. And so, you know, you got a good 15-minute, at least, 15 minutes to set up the game the first time. But then if you just play and you play and you play, even then though, the reset is probably 10 plus minutes, because you got everything out, but you gotta, you know, get all the tiles collected, put everything back, shuffle up the cards, the magic cards, and then you know, find out what color you're gonna play, get the different monsters. You got to randomize certain stuff. So there's still a good amount of, you know, relatively speaking, setup. But I mean, it could have been massively worse if that didn't come with all this very organized trays and a very organized way to put everything back in the box. Just wonderfully done. The table space, it gobbles right up. So you've got, I mean, if you want to have everything out so that you can reset up with a reasonable amount of time, you gotta have big table space for this one. I mean, it'll destroy a typical coffee table, 3x3. So bigger than that. So that is about a 4x6-ish area. And you don't really need all of that if you want to keep some stuff in the box. But anyway, length of play. So I got, you know, games that played with, you know, actually pretty short, half hour plus. If you just bust through and just, you know, either just try to get all your dwellings out. That was kind of how I got, you know, the minimal amount of time. But I'd say more on average, a good hour, you know, an hour plus really is tends to be the game. And there's a lot of little things, little modular, you expansion-y stuff you can add to, and it all kind of increases the length. You know, if you want to have the mother of dragons come in and just smash your face in every time you step on a, you know, a realm tile, it's just like, it just, you know, that lengthens the game. You're doing a lot of battles, you're getting beat back all the time. It adds quite a bit to the length. But if you're just kind of playing the basic, if you will, which there's still a ton of stuff going on, that's a good solid hour plus. But yeah, if you throw in some goodies, you got at least, you know, an hour and a half, maybe even more. Components, you know, the off the chart here as far as, I mean, I've still, there's better games out there, I think, that have more well, I don't know. It's up there. Top rated component quality. The value, I mean, if you buy it, at least retail, and you get the legendary version and you buy it from, you know, Breaking Games, which is what I did, you pay over a couple $100 to have it shipped to you. You know, it's quite a spendy ordeal. And I think the standard version might be, I don't know, half of that. I honestly don't know. Well over $100. But so this is spendy stuff, but you do get some high quality stuff in the miniatures that you get, and then too with the legendary thing. Now I know I could have done without the little bases that make the noises, the growly sounds and stuff. I don't know, it's just another thing you could break. It's another thing you got to worry about the batteries going bad, or letting it sit in the box too long, the batteries and the acid dripping out of them, or, you know, stuff like that. So I could have done without that. But yeah, I mean, considering all that stuff was in there, it still seems like the value is pretty, it's decent retail. And thematically, this is really a hybrid game. You know, it's with a fantasy wrap, and so not like there's a big story to get into, but it feels fantastic. The rule book was okay. The player aids I found very odd. You know, it just didn't have like the stuff I was looking for on the player aid. You know, you got your workers, and then you got your dragon, you've got your warrior and your wizard, and each one has a little different basic ability on top of any abilities maybe the faction gives it. But you know, the dragons can move up to 2 spaces away. Normally you have to kind of keep things adjacent. The wizard can go on any space, but it has to be unoccupied. And that goes across all games, but it wasn't on the player aid. I mean, stuff like that. And I had to like look into the book to find out some weird basic information that I thought for sure would be on a player aid, and it wasn't. There was a lot of stuff on the player aid that I didn't need. So that was kind of my biggest issue with the rules, I guess, was just the player aids were really not helpful, which I found kind of odd. But it had a nice little appendix separate, so you could look up certain stuff, and the rules just aren't that difficult to really understand in this game. You know, it's pretty straightforward. But the player aids didn't like them. And the mechanics. So the mechanics of it, this is, yeah, like I said, it's just a hodgepodge of stuff. And a lot of games get in trouble with me with these. They just try to do too much, and I just get caught up in like it was just a recent one. What was it? Post-Human Saga, I think, that just had so many cool ideas and mechanics, but none of them felt fully realized and felt too shallow. And I just couldn't really get into it because I like a good deepness in each of these mechanics. So here, a lot of different mechanics. You know, you're rolling dice for the battles. You got a worker placement thing. You got a kind of a reset, a regroup where you get to activate your tableau, and then you have a hand of cards that you can add your points for scoring certain little quests, and here, there, and then you got your little track that you move up on the colors, and you got the orbs that you can use to activate the cards, and so there's just all sorts of stuff going on here. Kind of a I don't know, a Euro mixed with a kind of a Ameritrash or whatever you want to call it. It was just a hodgepodge of stuff. And a lot of games I feel like can't make it work. This one did. This one, I mean, not only did it work, it worked fantastically. I'm really impressed, really, with the design of this game and how it just somehow I couldn't even really explain how it works. It just does. It works very well. So I guess moving on though, you know, from a strategy standpoint, that's where I kind of it lost me a little bit, because you know, I see you got your adventure deck that you use to create your tableau, but each color, I don't know, kind of had a little bit of a theme to it, but it didn't give you a direction like, okay, I can just go all out on this adventure deck, get these cards, and maximize points somehow. It just kind of it felt a little disjointed. There was a little bit of theme, like the knight, the black deck there was, you know, kind of resurrecting stuff. So that was kind of cool. There was a little bit of theme there, but it wasn't like you could sink your teeth into a strategy. It was sort of, you're at the mercy of the cards that come up, and there's just one that you can pick from. It wasn't like you had a bunch of variety, or you could go through the deck. That might have been kind of cool if you could go through the deck, and I mean, I don't see how that would work. But anyway, I was just surprised that the different adventure decks didn't have more of a thematic strategy tied to them. And so, you know, that was kind of a letdown. Also, too, I just found the uniqueness of the factions to be yes, they were sort of an asymmetrical thing going on there, but it was pretty weak, you know, compared to like just other games. I mean, not like Root, where it's just a different game from each thing, but like Gaia Project. I couldn't help but compare this to Gaia Project. Gaia Project, you have tons of factions. I think it was 7, and then you could flip over the sides of different colors. Had a lot of parallels you could draw, but the faction powers were extremely differentiated and very strong, and really directed your play, and that was missing kind of in here. The asymmetry was it was just kind of there, but didn't do a whole lot. Also, the tracks, that colored track that you could move up. I wish there was more stuff than just, it's going to score you more points at the end of the game. Felt like kind of a, you know, at least for a heavy gamer like myself, it was a missed opportunity. I would have loved to have seen, you know, like Gaia Project, where you work up on the, you know, there are technology tracks there. But when each time you took a step, it was thematically tied to like what you were upgrading, the technology you were upgrading. You get a little something for it. You get a little something for it. You get a little something. Here you just kind of go up, and you're just like, I'm going to score more points for that now. I mean, at the end of the track, there was a thing, one of those orbs, which are pretty strong, but not like crazy strong. And so, you know, that felt kind of weak to me. You know, these things like that would have made the game for me. You know, just stronger strategy tied to the adventure decks, a stronger you know, strategy tied to moving up on the different tracks. You know, more asymmetry that really like pulled you in a different direction to try to play the game a little differently. Just wasn't there. Now, I think a lot of people are fine with that, and that's great. And I totally get it. You know, they wouldn't want that extra level or two of heavy. So, I mean, I don't think that's what the game was trying to do, quite frankly. So, yeah, I understand. But, you know, this is just my own personal taste, right? So, but because of that, I couldn't. You know, really, it was the points you would score were about maximizing the strength and color. You know, making sure you max out that track, and then making sure you got dwellings on that color, and making sure you got cards in your tableau of that color. And that's, I mean, how you scored the most points. And it was just over and over and over and over and over and over again. Different colors each time, but over and over again, that was the strategy. And that was another big part of this, is the solo. The Ghosts of Everdale was too easy. About 5 games in, I realized this is, you know, I just it was too easy to manipulate it and keep it from building dwellings. And so it just, and I started keeping track. It's like, on average, each game, 4 or 5 times, it would get a card where it was going to build a dwelling, and it couldn't, because I would see, you know, oh gosh, if I put my worker there, then it's going to put, it was always associated when you place your worker, there was this little spirit that follows you around, and it dictates where the ghosts are going to put their workers. And if they put them on certain spots, you knew they were going to be able to build a dwelling. So you just avoid it, because you could see the cards. The cards are face up. So, yeah, it just got to be, it was too easy. And there was a huge thing too. For me, there was no difficulty levels. It was just straight up, just like, this is how the ghosts are used. I thought it was a totally missed opportunity, because a lot of games have ways that you can change the level. Now, I didn't find it too difficult to change it to my taste. For instance, there's this little track that you'll roll dice for the ghost, and it'll dictate what adventure cards it gets. And when it would place a worker on a tile where it could get one of the treasure tokens, it would go up on that. It would take the treasure token and it would place it on the board, and sometimes I would activate it, getting more points or doing all sorts of stuff. Well, the track, it was easy to just, you know, you usually start by placing a tile all the way to the left, and then you build your way to the right with those tiles. Well, I just scooched over. You can just scooch those tiles over one spot to the right, and it just makes everything activate, has it score points a lot faster that way. So that was an easy way to just change the level of the game. I just scooched those tokens over, so as soon as it started getting them, it started scoring points and getting stuff. Another thing that I did that was fun for me, so that I could not see all the time it was going to try to build a dwelling, was I just took the very first card on the left has a 50-50 chance of being activated, because if you roll a 1, 2, or 3, it activates the card on the left. 4 or 5, it activates the card in the middle, and a 6 on the right. So that left card, what I would do is when I would put it out, I would put it face down, and the other cards I'd keep face up. Another great way to just, manipulate easily. That way you can still sort of tell what it's going to do, which I like. But, just like a real player, maybe you can't tell everything it's going to do. And a 50-50 shot that you flip over that card and dang it, it builds that dwelling because you didn't know it was gonna. So that added a little to the excitement for me in playing it solo. But sucks that I had to come up with that myself, I guess. So there was other ways to tweak it. Things that I really liked about the game, 2 things. I love the monsters. I love the monsters that came out. That really added a flair to the game. They really had a cool strategic element to them because they would do different things, and I loved it. And I loved how they would change, and you had the friendly yellow dragon that came out. You could score points just by working around. You didn't have to fight it. But there's other things that just tried to destroy you. Most things just tried to destroy you. But some things you couldn't use your workers to fight. Some things you couldn't, you were definitely gonna, if you lost, or even if you won, you had you guys go back to, they were basically, you couldn't use them to regroup and come back and work your tableau. The other thing was, just unlike normal worker placement games where you put all your guys out and then, okay, there's a reset, you just take all your guys back. Here, it was a huge part of the game bringing those guys back. And if you built your tableau up, you could do certain actions depending on, I found that to be awesome. I love that too. So again, all in all, I enjoyed this game. I really did. But I feel like I got all the kind of the enjoyment that I'm going to get out of it. And it might be time to just pass that on to someone who might use it for multiplayer and solo, just get better use out of the game. Because I just wouldn't play this multiplayer, really. I think it would be good, but it's just not my preference for a number of reasons, but a great game. So that's it. That's what my thoughts were on Dwellings of Eldervale. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments below. And until next time, thank you so much for watching on Board Game Rants, and I'm out!